How's it going? It's Kevan, Kenney hanging out here in Billboard offices, or I should say the Billboard offices here in New York City. And I'm just about the happiest camper that I could ever be because I'm hanging out with Chris Carrabba of Dashboard Confessional. What's going on, Chris?
Just enjoying my day, man. Playing music, having fun, having conversations.
Well, yeah, you certainly are. We are enjoying ourselves because you just gave an incredible performance. 4 songs here for the Billboard office in New York.
What an office, man. I mean, I wish that was my crowd every night. Pretty awesome.
Pretty receptive, right? I was waiting for the sing-along to break out. You're here, you're talking tour, you're on the road this summer with the main All-American Rejects. It's going to be awesome. But first, I want to talk about Dashboard at the beginning. You guys are turning like 16 or 17 this year. It's pretty crazy, right?
17, yep.
Wow. You're actually older. The band's actually older now than many of us were when we discovered you guys.
The band is older than I am now. Yes.
I want to take it back to those early days, and a question I've always wanted to ask you, just as a fan of your music, is I know that you were kind of like a punk rock kid a little bit. You were into skater videos. You were a skater yourself, and I think some of Dashboard's earliest tours were with like bands like H2O and Face to Face, and those are some pretty heavy bands as far as bands go.
Yeah.
Where did this sort of I don't want to say soft at all because it's not soft, but this singer-songwriter acoustic guitar stuff come from?
I think it was reactionary. I was in these different bands that were certain degrees of from heavy to very heavy all at once. And one of the bands was really complex. It was this band called Further Seems Forever. Mm-hmm. And it was like, we call it math rock, but it was a real edgy, heavy, angular kind of thing. And I just kind of needed a counterbalance to that. So I just kind of wrote these songs that felt like it was boiled down to the total, the simple essence of the bare bones of what a song could need, but still be powerful. And that was kind of my objective for a writing exercise, really, and that turned into a band by accident.
That's pretty crazy. And you bring up Further Seems Forever. That was the band you were in prior to Dashboard. And as legend has it, Dashboard, one of the things Dashboard was born out of was you would bring songs to Further Seems Forever, and they'd love them. They'd be all about the songs. It just wasn't the right fit for that particular band, but they were very adamant, I've heard, that you should pursue this on your own.
Oh, man, they were so supportive.
Do you remember, just for longtime Dashboard fans, were there any early songs that you played for them, like maybe the first song you ever brought to them that wasn't for them, but they thought you should do it on their own, that wound up being a Dashboard song?
Yeah, Screaming Infidelities. I remember, playing it for them, and I thought since it was in, we favored 6/8 as a time signature. This was in 6/8. Okay, maybe this one will work, and they were right. Like we all had a specific vision for Further, but I thought we could like retrofit it into all that stuff. But they were like, "Oh, you've already got it right. We'll mess this up," and if they hadn't had that foresight, I don't know that we'd be talking today.
It's pretty wild to think back on.
I was really lucky about that. And the fact that my bandmates were so supportive of me doing something outside of the band, you couldn't ask for better than that.
Yeah. Was it in the form that we know it now?
It was exactly the same.
Wow.
Yeah.
You talk about support, and you're lucky to have some really supportive friends early on. A friend that I heard this story, and I thought it was a beautiful story, and kind of ties into the record that I first became aware of you on, which is Swiss Army Romance. And a friend of yours named Amy, and how supportive she was. Can you kind of tell that story of how she was so proactive and so supportive, and that somehow kind of led to the making of Swiss Army Romance?
Amy is a persistent person, and she is a fantastic friend. And among other things, she knows me inside and out. So she knows one of the reasons, I had these songs, and she had a record label, and she put out like the first Newfound Glory record, among other great records, and would go on to have a pretty successful career in the music industry, and then now in the advertising industry, and has written books, and she's just fantastic. Wow. Amy Fleischer is her name, and when she sees something more clearly than somebody else, she will not stop until she sees that vision through for you or with you, or helps you to see it through. So she thought these songs had whatever the thing is, she thought they had them. And I was so focused on Further, and I was also and I was also a little afraid to do something on my own, and I had every excuse in the book, and the final one was that I just didn't own an acoustic guitar. I borrowed the one that I wrote all the Dashboard songs on. So she shows up one day with a guitar. Here, no excuses. And next thing you know, I have the Swiss Army Romance, recorded on that guitar.
That's
Yeah.
crazy, man. Do you still have that guitar? I
Of
hope?
course I do.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely.
Moving down your discography here, one of my favorite projects that you've ever done is the So Impossible EP.
Mm-hmm.
And I love EPs just because they're so consumable, and it's 4 or 5 tracks, maybe 6 sometimes. But what I love particularly about that is the story that you tell. And for anyone watching right now that may not be familiar with it, it kind of tells the story of falling in love, right? You notice someone, and then you ask him out, you go to a party, you fall in love, and it actually culminates with one of your biggest hits, hands down.
Yes.
Is that an autobiographical story?
Yes.
It is.
It is, yeah. As so many of my songs are, they're either autobiographical or they are, they're like tangential, something in my life, like a best friend's life experience that I kind of watch them go through, and you feel like you've had the experience with them. But in this case, yes, it was very much my own experience. And as with all things, I think you cull from more than just one experience, but the heart of it is really just this one girl and the kind of rocky, unsure path that led to something real and special. And I didn't know I was going to write something that was like a vignette of these moments. But after I'd finished one song, I felt like I had more story to tell.
Yeah.
So I'd read another. Next thing you know, there was this kind of 4 chapters of this story. And it's an incomplete story. It kind of ends with the real start of the story. And I think I've got the rest of it in me somewhere to tell at some point.
I look forward to that.
Me too.
Well, now that I know it's autobiographical, I have to ask a question that's probably on the minds of many Dashboard fans. Did you wind up wearing the blue shirt on that first date?
I sure did. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now that EP culminates with Hands Down. I don't have to ask what happened on that first date because, just listen to the song. But I'm curious, how soon after that night did you go and write that song?
It was a while after. It was. I don't know how long after. It's hard. Yeah, everything kind of gets the lens you look through when you're looking backwards is a little hazy sometimes. It wasn't terribly long, but it was long enough. I don't have life experience and then like the next week write about it.
You just don't write that way?
No, they sit and ruminate for a while. And first they're just like a thing that happened that you're excited about or not excited about, depending on the tenor of the song or experience, excuse me. And then later you stumble in. You don't know you're still exploring that moment until you start writing a song. And in my experience anyway, you can't set out to do it. It would have. I admire people that can do that are like different kinds of craftsmen that know this is good material for a song, and I'm just going to get right down to it. I need to it actually drifts away for a while, and then I read music that is evocative of that same feeling that I had, and it's remembering that moment. In that music, in the melody and all that, it reminds me of that moment. And suddenly there's the whole story.
Interesting.
And I didn't realize I'd been waiting to write about it. And I'd never know that I'm always surprised that I needed to write about it. Sometimes you need to write about songs. Maybe you always need to write about songs. The need being a powerful word.
Yeah.
Not write about songs, write about experiences in songs. And but in my career, I've always been, each song is a surprise that I didn't realize there was a need there. But that's where when I say best, I mean the ones I connect most with personally. Yeah. My best songs are those.
A form of therapy, fair to say?
I don't know if they're a form of therapy.
Talk about needing to write, to that point. Is it therapeutic?
Well, writing music is more than anything else, more meditative than anything else. I guess if that's probably a closer analogy than therapy. But maybe there's a bit of therapy in there. Yeah. Maybe so. I mean, you're examining your feelings, and I guess that's therapeutic. Yep.
About 2 years after that So Impossible EP comes out, you get tapped to write probably the biggest song off of the summer blockbuster of 2004, Spider-Man 2. I've heard you got to watch the movie beforehand, and the song, the lyrics are inspired by the film. But I've never heard the story of how you guys were approached. Did that catch you off guard?
Well, it was a fantastic kind of turn of events where this great executive at Sony Pictures, Leah Volek, had become a fan of my band, thought we'd be right for the soundtrack, asked if we had a song, and we did. So we gave her a song. And then she invited me to see, she was excited. It wasn't meant to be the single. I don't remember who had the single, but it was kind of a done deal. Invited me to see the movie. And it was oh man, what a great thing. 'Cause I'm a big comic book fan, and to watch the movie in the state that it was, where it was like there was completely rendered effects and then suddenly illustration, where they hadn't quite finished or even filmed a part. But the heart of the story was there. And I didn't really write about the story of the movie. I just found a lot of corollaries between my own life experience, and I think that's why the movie's successful. It really speaks to a person changing with their new life experiences, and that's what I wrote about. And there was as it was in the movie, Peter Parker is lovelorn and is not able to be with the person he wanted to be with. And I also happen to not be able to be with the person I wanted to be with. And so I wrote about my experience. I was inspired by the movie, but I didn't think I was writing about the movie. In retrospect, I was inspired by it. And I demoed it. I wrote it like so quickly, which is the way the best songs happen. And then we were in Hawaii, and we had a show. So at soundcheck, I showed everybody. We just played it twice through, recorded it. And the only change that came to pass when we recorded it was one chord.
Wow.
It was a great chord change that the producer suggested, but that was it. Otherwise, it was a fully formed thing, and that doesn't often happen. So it was just one of those moments where you just catch lightning in a bottle. But then we sent it to Leah, just like, hey, we didn't want to replace the song. We just wanted you to know that I found some inspiration. And she was like, no, we want this song. You got to come back now and go in the studio now, and we're going to make it the single.
way.
And that was a total shocker. And we've never had we've really, truly, honestly never had a hit song. But we've had some things that have moved the cultural needle. The MTV Unplugged was one of them, of course.
Yeah.
But that probably Vindicated is the biggest, was our watershed moment because of that. And if it wasn't for the way that those events transpired and just one woman believing in my band, maybe I wouldn't be talking with you.
Yeah,
you know?
there's a chance, right?
Yeah.
Would we know that original song just for?
I've never released it. No.
Oh, interesting.
And it still feels very vibrant and current. And when I say current, I mean like it feels like a dashboard song.
Yeah.
And I keep waiting for the songs around it to have a space for it. But I've yet to. Every record, I think it's going to make the record, and it hasn't yet.
Got to find the right puzzle, right, for that puzzle piece.
Yes.
Speaking of dashboard songs that we've never gotten, I heard that in 2009 you lost an entire record.
Yeah.
Because of a crashed hard drive. That's wild.
Because
man.
of all the hard drives crashing.
All the hard drives at once
There
crashed.
was a situation where we were reformatting drives, and everything got corrupted. And I got some of it back, but the truth, I took it as a sign, that it wasn't the right record. Because you make a record, or the way I make records is everything is in the moment, and I'm not. I like to record almost as soon as after I've written a song as possible, like the same day if possible, like 10 minutes later if possible. And you capture fire, and maybe it's not the best performance, but best isn't always the right one. It's sometimes the flawed one is the right one. So sometimes the imperfection is what makes it connect with people. I don't know why, but that's just the case. That's just the way it is. I started re-recording the record, and we did like 3 songs, and I was like, this is bogus. it was clear to me the songs weren't the songs I wanted because I wasn't stressed that I had to re-record them, but I could tell immediately that they didn't have the vibrancy that I was looking for, and I decided then and there I was going to wait, and it took a long time. I was going to wait until there was until there was songs that that when I finished it, it demanded another song.
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as I hit the finish line, there was no time to celebrate, just on to the next one. And that doesn't happen every time. It seems to be happening right now, though.
That's exciting.
It is. It feels really good.
You know, you talk about a blessing in disguise with the hard drives crashing and that album never really making to see the light of day. You've talked about how at that point in time you were exhausted from touring so much. You guys like relentlessly toured during that time period, and how you had felt like you had lost the plot. You gotten away from the plot that kind of led to your early success and music that you yourself are really proud of. What was the plot, though, if you had to articulate the plot?
Well, that's hard to quantify or at least to verbalize, but I'll do my best. I felt like one thing was that I was being in. Some of the people I was working with were trying to help me grow as an artist. And one of the things that they kept hammering home was that lyrics aren't important. And I think to some extent they may be right. You know, melody is king. I don't know how the average person consumes music, but it's in their estimation, lyrics were like the last piece of the puzzle that they listened to. I think that they like a catchy line here or there. That's what I was being told. So I tried that. You know, I tried to focus more on the whole construction of the song and less on the lyric. And that's where I lost the plot, because music for me is about telling a story, capturing a moment, and I'm not a poet, but I really do like lyrics, and I think that's maybe that I'm the wrong guy. For me, lyrics do matter, and I guess that's what it comes down to. It's like, well, maybe that's true for certain subset of music fans, but I'm not them. I'm supposed to write the songs the way I am supposed to write the songs.
Hell yeah.
And for me, that means lyrics are king.
Yeah, we love the lyrics, man. I'm happy to hear in recent interviews it sounds like you've gotten back to that plot. You've regained the plot. You know, you've been very outspoken that you love the older stuff, maybe more than the later records. And whatever you're working on now, whenever we get this record, it's going to be more true to the early stuff. You're in Nashville now, right?
Yes.
So you were, between touring and I know you moved around a lot as a kid, you probably wrote those early Dashboard records sort of like as a transient, right? In all these different places. I was wondering if having a central home now in Nashville, Tennessee, if that's affected the songwriting process or album making process.
Well, I don't know, because we sure tour a lot still.
Yeah.
I think it's too soon for me to know the answer to that question.
Okay.
But I could probably answer it best like this. Probably?
Yeah, right? There's going to be some sort of...
I don't know how, but
yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Well, we talk about touring, and you guys have been, you did the smaller shows earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
Caught you in January here at Irving Plaza in New York City. You went all over the country. You're going to be going all over the country again this summer with All American Rejects. And I think the Maine is joining you on certain dates.
Yep. And the Social Animals.
And the Social Animals. Now, tickets are available currently for that, right? Do you know where fans can head?
Places you buy tickets.
Yeah,
like
right.
Our
Ticketmaster,
website, I guess,
social.
Ticketmaster, socials, and scalpers, I guess.
Scalpers, the guys outside. What are you looking forward to most? Did you ever cross paths with All American Rejects or the Maine back in the day?
Yeah. It's surprising that we haven't toured together. We've played lots of festivals together, and we're friends. And, Nick lives in Nashville, and we spent some time together. And Tyson and I are good buddies, and we been mutual fans of each other's music. I really admire that band. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Fall Out Boy and My Chemical Romance, Jimmy Eat World. There's and All American Rejects. That's a group of bands where the melodies are so incredibly strong that they're kind of like next level.
Yeah.
So I've just been an admirer of them from their first EP really, and continue to be. And plus they're a riot, man. I think Tyson's one of the funniest guys I've ever.
Well, you
met
guys
in
had so
my
much
life.
fun with the promo for tour. That was hilarious.
Yeah, he's. I just wish everybody could spend time with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lights up a room, and he's a special guy.
We can spend time with you on tour this summer.
Yeah.
Again, tickets are available. I can't thank you enough, Chris, for stopping by, performing for us here. That's available on our Facebook page live, and for sitting down and chatting with us about Dashboard and Summer Tour.
This has been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.